y'all, welcome back to Legacy Her Way, where we talk all things legacy, wealth, family, and power on your terms. Hi, I'm Tanya Hendricks. I'm the host of Legacy Her Way, and this is the podcast where we explore how women are creating powerful personal legacies through family, faith, business, community, and beyond. So whether you're building wealth, you're raising kids, or you're launching your next big thing, this space is for you. Now, this episode is sponsored by Huntsville Estate Planning Lawyer, LLC, where we empower your vision and secure your future through estate planning and trademarks. Today, on this solo episode, I want to talk directly to the woman who's building. Maybe you're building a business or a portfolio. Maybe you're building a family, a movement, something about you're passionate about. You just heard from Christy Kruger about Reagan's Clinic and how she built a movement around a need that she saw within her own family. Maybe you're just building a better future for you and your family. You've got big dreams, right? And you're doing the work. You're doing the work to make these dreams happen. But here's the question I have for you today. Is your legal life protecting what you're building? Have you taken the steps to protect what you're building? So today I'm going to walk through a few of the legal safety nets that every woman should have in place to protect her wealth, to protect her business, to protect her family, and grow it with confidence. Now, because there will be some legal talk today, I do have a few disclaimers to make. Number one, this is not legal advice. Talk to an attorney in your area about these issues and get advice as to your particular set of circumstances. Secondly, this is just for educational purposes. And, sorry, I've got some noise happening in the background here. So this is for educational purposes only. This is not for legal advice. It's education information only. And finally, the final disclaimer that you hear with every single legal advertisement, everything you see on television or read, no representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed are greater than those performed by other lawyers. So the disclaimers are there. Out of the way, please seriously do talk with an attorney about these situations, about these scenarios, about your circumstances, if you have not already engaged with one, because you want to protect what you are building. And all I can give today in this podcast are just some general information about some of the legal things you should do to protect your business, protect your family, and protect the wealth that you're building. So as you are building your business, if that's what you're building, maybe you haven't really launched a business, but maybe you have a product that you're selling. Maybe it's a side hobby. Maybe you are baking cakes, baking dog treats, making smocks for children. There are a number of things you could be doing that you are considering a side hobby. Maybe you're offering some services on the side. Maybe you have a coaching business. Maybe you're a content creator. You're an influencer at this point. You've got a large following on social media. You have gone beyond just a side hobby, and now you actually have a business. So you want to treat it as a business. And to do that, you need a legal structure in place. What I mean by legal structure is like an entity such as an LLC, corporation. There are legal entities that you can form that will protect you from liability purposes. I told you there's some background noises. I apologize. I don't know if y'all can hear that. So there are some things that you can form as a business entity to, one, protect your wealth, because these business entities can give you some liability coverage and liability to protection. Now, there are some limits to it, and again, talk to an attorney in your area about the limitations, what type of entity provides what type of coverage, and what limitations could be on that coverage and that protection. But if you form an entity such as an LLC, which is a limited liability company, it can provide certain protections for you. Now, I will tell you that anytime someone comes to see me about forming an entity, one of the first questions I ask them is, have you talked to an accountant? You absolutely need to talk with an accountant about your business. Before you form an entity, you want to know what is going to be the best tax structure and strategy for you when forming that entity. An LLC may not be the best tax structure for you. If it is an LLC, how will you be taxed? Will you be a disregarded entity? Will you be taxed as a C Corp or an S Corp? There are a lot of questions that need to be answered, and a tax professional can answer those for you. So talk with an accountant about what steps to take for your taxes and any tax consequences you could have. But forming an LLC not only gives you some protection, or forming a business entity not only gives you some protection, but it also makes you a little more, or at least appear a little more legit. When you can project yourself as a business entity, whether it's an LLC or corporation, people do take notice, and they do take it a little more seriously that you're a business and you should be treated as a businesswoman. So check into what business entity you should form. Having that business entity formed can also give you access to certain credit that you may not have access to if you didn't have a business entity formed. May give you access to some grants, contracts, some other things that someone merely acting as a sole proprietor could not get. Now, as a writer, as an author, I actually did not form an entity for my writing purposes, but I did get a tax ID number for my writing purposes. So that helped a little bit too with me being treated more of as a business. But with my law firm, I definitely do have a business entity formed. It is extremely important if you want to move from just a project or a side hustle to being considered a legit business. You need to form an entity. All right, so secondly, your name is a brand. Own it. What I mean by owning it is looking at trademark. Now, I did not get involved in trademark work until a few years ago when I was on the receiving end of a cease and desist letter. And it was shocking to me that someone in California had registered a name of something like an event that me and a few other women were doing. We just innocently named it something because it defined what we were doing. We're having an event at a wine cellar and we were women. And so we just named it what we were doing. And the day of the event, I got a cease and desist letter from an attorney, or actually not from the attorney, I think it was from the people who had the trademark themselves, that said, whoa, we own the rights to this name. So I can't tell you how quickly I scrubbed the internet of us and that name. So because of that cease and desist letter, I learned about trademarks. I've been practicing law for, at that point, over 20 years, because I'm now at 24 years, and this was just a few years ago. And I never considered trademarks. I never thought about it, never done anything with trademarks until that happened, and I started looking into it and thought, wow, this is an area of the law I'd never really explored, but it is vital for people to know about. It is vital for businesses to know about it. The reason being, you don't want to be on the receiving end of that cease and desist letter. Thankfully, the women and I that we kind of come together to do this event, we had not really put any money into it. We hadn't formed a website. We didn't really do any marketing other than a little bit on social media. So we had not invested a lot of money into it and had not really invested a lot of time. So we didn't have a lot that we were losing. However, if you are a business owner and you have invested thousands of dollars into building a website, and creating marketing materials. Maybe you bought some merch. Buy your merch from Mac Global Promotions, FYI. But if you have invested thousands of dollars into your business and probably hundreds of hours, because if you're doing everything yourself, like a lot of solopreneurs are, a lot of people just starting out, you're doing everything. You're doing the content creation, you're doing the website creation, everything. If you have invested all that time and all that money into this business that you're starting, and then you get a cease and desist letter, you will very likely, there are some nuances to it, but you will very likely have to completely rebrand. Stop what you're doing, undo what you've done, and completely rebrand. So you have lost thousands of dollars at that point and hundreds of hours, and you got to start over. That is a difficult conversation for me to have with people, and I've had to have that conversation with people about, you got the cease and desist letter. Yeah, sorry, but you're not going to be able to use that name that you already got in your signage, you've already gotten your business cards, your website, everything. So before you move forward with a name, before you move forward with a logo, a slogan, you really want to do a trademark search to make sure you can actually use that name. There are two primary reasons to do trademarks. One is to ensure you can use whatever it is you're trying to use, that name, that logo. And then the other one is to enforce your rights. So you do the trademark search, you find out, yes, I can use that name. Then you trademark that so that no one else can use it. You don't want to have a situation where someone in another state or even the next city over starts using that same name, and then they can damage your name if they're using it and not living up to your standards. So you really want to ensure you can use a name and then enforce your right to use it. So that trademark is essential to own your rights to your business, to own your right to that business name, that product name, that logo, that slogan. Don't build something amazing only to have someone else come along and steal it or to stop you from using it. Another benefit of having a trademark is that when you trademark that name, if you grow that business, if you grow that brand to the point that someone wants to buy your business, that trademark is an asset of your business, and it can increase the value if that trademark is up for sale with your business. So there are a number of reasons to trademark it. The best time, and I'm asked quite often, when should I look at trademarks? When should I start being concerned about a trademark? My answer is when you are looking at naming your business, when you're getting things started right off the ground. And I know that's an added expense. And when you're starting your business, you're trying to minimize expenses as much as possible. But if you don't do the search now, and you really should, and yes, I'm a little biased because I do trademarks. I'm a trademark lawyer in addition to estate planning. If you don't hire a trademark lawyer to do that search, you may be missing some things with that search. So reach out to a trademark lawyer, have them do a comprehensive search for you, and then apply for that trademark if you can. There may not be that you can, but if you can, get that trademark right off the bat before you really start your business so that you can be sure you have the right to use it and that no one else can use it after you. So trademarks are incredibly important. They're also, because they're an asset of the business, that could be part of your business succession plan. And we'll talk about that, business succession plans, in just a moment. So that kind of actually leads us into the third thing, your estate plan. So as you're building wealth, the third step or third thing you can do to protect your legacy, protect the business you're building, is to do your estate plan. Estate planning is really the foundation of your long-term wealth. Wealth isn't just what you make, it's what you keep and pass on. So if you don't have a will, if you don't have a power of attorney, and you don't have a healthcare directive, your state has a plan for you. So you may not have created your own estate plan, but the state has one for you. And chances are, it's not what you would want. So chances are things distributed through the state's estate plan is not how you would want them distributed. Particularly when you have a business, it can create a lot of tension, a lot of headaches, a lot of stress, a lot of problems for your family, for your loved ones, if you don't have an estate plan in place where you have created a business succession plan. So when you have a business, you must have a plan in place as to what happens to that business if you become incapacitated. What happens if you're in a car accident and you're stuck in the hospital for weeks or months at a time? Who will be that person who can pay your employees, who can honor contracts, who can talk with maybe the landlord for your office building? I mean, there's a number of things that need to be dealt with day in and day out with your business. And if you have not created an estate plan that includes your business, then you are setting your family and your business up for some major headaches along the way. So do your estate plan and be sure you include within that power of attorney and within your will, or if you do a trust, whatever documents you have. And also you can do this within your business entity formation documents. So an operating agreement for an LLC. You can have a succession plan in place as to what will happen to your business. Like who will take it over? Who will manage it? Is there somebody, maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's a sibling or a child, depending on the age of your children. That may be who you want to take over. That may be who you want to kind of step in and take control. But you have to designate who that's going to be. So somebody has to be available to write checks, to pay bills, to keep things going, or to dissolve them. Whatever may be the best case for your business. But you need to have that business succession plan in place for your business. But for your family, for personal, for whether family, loved ones, whatever that may look like for you, you want to have that estate plan in place to carry on and distribute the assets the way you want them distributed. You want to be sure that if you have minor children, you have a guardian in place. Who will take care of those children if something happens to you and their other parent? Where will they go? You need to think through these things, because when it comes down to it, when you have children, well, any family member, spouse, children, they are your priority. More important than your business, you have to have a plan in place for what happens to your children if something happens to you. They are your greatest wealth, right? They are the reason, most likely, they're the reason you work hard. They're the reason you're trying to build something better for you, because it builds something better for them. And so if you don't have a plan in place as to what happens to them, all of this work you're doing is wasted. You're building something that will be tarnished because you didn't make a plan for the most important people in your life. So that estate plan, and there's many, many reasons to an estate plan. As soon as you turn 19, you should be talking to a lawyer about getting a power of attorney in place and a will, because you never know what may happen. When you have a bank account, when you have a house, when you have children, you need to have an estate plan in place to take care of those things and to take care of you. So an estate plan is not just when you die. An estate plan also is when you become incapacitated and you're unable to take care of yourself. Someone has to step in and take care of you and make some decisions for you and handle your business affairs, your legal affairs. So that's why the power of attorney is actually one of the most important documents in an estate plan, because it's the document that people don't know how badly they need it until they need it. And then sometimes it's too late. But that power of attorney will allow someone to take in your children, take care of them, or if you have a business, they can run the business on your behalf and keep things running and operating. So as you're building wealth and you want to protect that wealth, do your estate plan. Talk to an experienced estate planning lawyer who can walk you through and help you create the best plan for your circumstances. Estate planning doesn't start with documents. It starts with you and your loved ones. It's a matter of who is important and what is important, not just filling in some blank lines. So that's the third thing when it comes to building and protecting your wealth. You want to have an estate plan. The fourth thing is kind of connected, and I consider this estate planning without a lawyer. It's making sure your bank accounts, your beneficiaries are all taken care of. You may not know that you can name a beneficiary to your checking account. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that you can name a payable on death beneficiary to your checking account, to checking, savings, money market. Any financial account, you can name a payable on death beneficiary, and that money goes to them directly. It does not go through probate. It does not become part of your estate. It goes to those people directly, as long as they're over 19. If you have minor children, don't name them as beneficiaries, but if they're over 19, you can do that. Again, talk with an estate planning lawyer to make sure that's the best legal strategy for you. It may not be the best legal strategy for you. There may be reasons to not name children as a beneficiary or not to name anyone as a beneficiary on a checking account. Depends on your particular set of circumstances. That's why it's so critical to talk to an estate planning lawyer who can walk you through these scenarios. But don't leave it to chance. Make sure that you have beneficiaries listed on life insurance policies, retirement accounts, a primary and a contingent. So you always want to have a backup plan. So even when you name beneficiaries on financial accounts, make sure you have that backup plan. Make sure you have the contingency in place. So that's the fourth thing to be sure that you do to protect your wealth as you're growing it. And that is ensuring your bank accounts have beneficiaries, your financial accounts have beneficiaries. And as you're growing a business, please, and I think this will be, I think accountants will thank me for telling you this, but keep your business and personal separate. You want to have separate accounts. So you want to have a business account and you want to have a personal account. Don't commingle, keep them separate, make there be a clear dividing line between what's with business and what's with personal. And if you have multiple streams of income, you've got multiple streams of investments, or even maybe you have some crypto, which, some of you have probably dipped your toe in, at least, if not completely dove in, your estate plan needs to acknowledge that. And your estate planning lawyer needs to know those things so that they can develop the best legal strategy for you. The fifth thing to be sure you do as you are growing and protecting your wealth, don't let fear control. Protecting your wealth is not about fear. When you are putting these legal tools in place, whether it's doing an estate plan, or make sure beneficiaries are designated, or creating the business entity, it's not based on fear. It should not be based on fear. It means that you are putting tools and plans in place as the best strategy to protect and plan for the best. You are putting your best version forward, your best self forward, and making these proactive plans is a part of that. You're planning for the best to happen. A lot of times, and I think I said this in episode 1, when I talked about hearing this speaker one time when she challenged us, because we often think, what's the worst that's going to happen? We always think in kind of the worst terms, but I want to think about what's the best that can happen. What is the best that can happen if I take this action? What is the best that can happen if I take this leap? So as you are making these plans, as you are creating your business entity, as you are creating your estate plan, as you are creating or ensuring that you've got beneficiaries designated, this is about ensuring the best version of you shows up. Because once you have all these things in place, you have freedom with that peace of mind. You have freedom knowing that you have your affairs in order so that if something terrible happens, your family's taken care of, your loved one's taken care of, your business is taken care of. So this is about freedom, and it's about planning for the best. So many of us are going through life right now fearful. Whatever the fear may be. It may be that our political climate is a mess. It may be that we see things on the news that cause us a lot of fear. It may be that we see all these personal injury lawyers with the advertisements on TV, and we think they're just waiting to sue us. What if we misstep in any way? These attorneys who are spending probably millions of dollars a year or thousands of dollars a year on advertising, they're just waiting to come and sue us for any little thing. So we live in fear. We should not live that way. We can't live that way. We have to live in the knowledge of who we are, whose we are, and that we are creating a better version of ourselves that will benefit our family, our community, and our country. So please don't live in fear. If you're a person of faith, we have not been given a spirit of fear. We are free. Whatever that may sound like to you, as far as, we're in the United States, we are a democratic society, or some will say we're a republic, but we have freedoms that a lot of people don't have. And thankfully, as women, we live in a time where we are killing it. Do you know that women-owned businesses, according to the SBA, the Small Business Association, women own more than 12 million businesses in the United States, and we employ more than 10 million Americans. We have an annual payroll, and this is from, I think this study was back in 2019, so I don't know what it is in 2025, but in 2019, we had an annual payroll of $418.6 billion, that's billion with a B, dollars. We are absolutely killing it. Building wealth as a woman is absolutely attainable in today's landscape, whatever that may look like to you. Social media has made it possible for us to build wealth in ways never imaginable before. But we have to make the smart moves to ensure that we have the legal and financial safety nets in place. And so those 5 safety nets I talked about in this podcast episode will hopefully help you move forward with building your business, with you being part of that $416.8 billion that we are, that's part of the payroll that we're giving back to our communities through that payroll. So you deserve the peace of mind. You deserve the boundaries and the legacy that last. And that's what these 5 safety nets that I talked about today is all about. So let me ask you this question. Which one of these legal tools, which one of these 5 safety nets is missing from your wealth plan? What do you need to do next to do that one tool? Maybe you're missing all 5 of them. But what's the one step you can take next to get those safety nets in place. Maybe you need to talk to a lawyer and say, where do I even begin? Maybe it's time you talk to an accountant. But what is that one step you need to take to fill that gap, to be sure that you are legally protected, so that as you are growing your business, you're protecting that business and protecting your family. You deserve that peace of mind knowing that's in place. I want to thank you so much for listening to Legacy Her Way. If today's conversation inspired you, moved you, or made you think a little differently about what legacy means, you're in the right spot. So be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, please leave a review to help other women find inspiration for their own path to legacy. Be sure that you subscribe and have these episodes downloaded. That helps other women find this podcast. Until next time, keep building boldly, loving deeply, and living your legacy her way. Bye-bye.